Hello and welcome. This is Jonah Falcon, and I just saw Civilization 6. It's the next edition, of course, of the Civilization series, and they're taking a step forward and a step back. Now, the presentation itself was sort of odd. Instead of telling us the game mechanics or the new game mechanics, instead the entire game was narrated by a leader who dictates what's going on without actually telling us the gameplay mechanics. So I had to unpack a lot of what he was saying from the thing. So first off, the graphics look more like the graphics you'd seen in Civ Rev. They're a little bit cartoony, but sharper focus. So you really have not a cartoony look. It's a little more cartoony than what you saw in Civ 5, but not to the level of it was in Civ Rev. The graphics look beautiful. As a matter of fact, the Fog of War looks like one of those beige cloth maps in which you don't actually have the graphics. Instead, you have an inked-in, a penciled-in version of the map. So that little aesthetic is great. The thing that is really new is the fact that you now have districts. For example, you just can't build a shrine anymore. You need to build a religious district and then build a shrine inside that district, which happens to be one of your tiles. As a matter of fact, the world wonders they have are also take up their own tiles as well. What I do like is that the cities are detailed, so that if you build a monument, you'll see the monument in your city. I know this is done before, but this time it's a little more obvious because the cities themselves take up all these tiles like they used to. So you actually plop down these districts. They can be religious districts, or later on in the game, industrial districts. So one of the things I also noticed is that traders are now, trading, with the camels and stuff. It's a little more useful when trading between your own civilization cities, because now they give sort of like a buff on the resources. A small buff, but still a buff, like +1 food, +1 production, something like that. I saw 3 things. I didn't see it long enough to see what the resources were. Like Civilization Beyond Earth, you now have policies. There are 4 policies: military, scientific, and economic, and quote-unquote wild card, which is interesting. I also noticed, by the way, that when a Civ declares war on you, it actually now differentiates between war and a surprise war. And some leaders actually get a bonus when they do that. One thing that was mentioned is that your tech is also dynamic depending on what you're doing. So it seems like they're taking what they did from Sid Meier's Beyond Earth and applying that here too. I don't know if it's to the same extent that Civ Beyond Earth was, in which you became one type of leader or you became another type of leader. Those units that opened up. I also noticed when you kill mounted units, at least you have the benefit of knowing that you didn't kill the horses, because they just disappear. They run away after you kill the units, which is cute. Also, the leaders are also cute as well. Like when you conquer Cleopatra's domain, she starts whining. She starts being melodramatic and talks about she should now just clasp the asps to her breast, Also, I don't know if it's sort of the graphic part, but I think when you get to a golden age, you actually you have a golden sheen about you. So there's a lot of graphic detail like that being included in Civ 6. Unfortunately, most of what I saw was what you'd find in Civ 5 when it comes to using your workers, using this and that, but now there's a lot more, and thankfully they kept the single unit per tile thing that they have in Civ 5. I hated those stacks of Doom, those large stacks of units. What I did like also is the fact that you have city borders now, and you get to micromanage a little bit. And it's going to be interesting to see how the districts work. Like I said, the video only gave vague impressions of how they work. I haven't looked up to see what they really do, but it's going to be very interesting. So yeah, Civ 6 looks great, and I eagerly wait for it to come up in the next few months.